morning, everybody. This is Emily from Grammy's Garden. Welcome. I'm getting ready to step out my back door. It's 48 degrees, and it's early. The sun is up, though. And I wanted to go out and look over my garden, and you're going to see with me, as soon as I step out my door, what I've got. I've got a bag here because I know there's some produce out there. And as much as I don't like the idea of pulling things, I hate to let go of my garden this summer for some reason. It's like it's letting go of a good friend. That's how much I've enjoyed this garden. Even though the tomatoes got pretty much obliterated during a windstorm. They got knocked down. But that's a whole nother story. It's over, it's done. There's always next year, right? Plus you'll see out here, there's still tomatoes right outside my door. So here we are. This is literally right outside my door. And isn't this a mess? Can you believe there's a trellis under there? There's the trellis. Last year, I used this trellis. It almost has like an Asian look to it. And I think it's so pretty. This year, things just kept on growing. And you got to where you couldn't even see there's a trellis under there. But there is. I wanted to show you all this little plant I started from seed. They're sweet cherry 100s or 1000s. I can't remember. But I wanted you to see how there's just these things. I'm going to pop one in my mouth. I just think of this coming out here. I just think about getting my vitamin C. It's so good. But you see intermingled among this? Let's see where this vine goes. I have a big grow bag down here. I have hard pan clay here. Literally hard pan clay. And hardly anything will grow on it, vegetable wise. So I have a big grow bag there that I planted one of the cherry tomatoes, the only one I planted up here, Marzano, because I wanted more paste tomatoes this year. So here it is way over here producing. This is how these vines, I just kind of, by the middle of July, and we were just not getting a break from the heat, I was like, okay, let's see how it goes. So I kept watering, and I quit tying things up, and these guys took care of themselves. They just wove themselves around and latched onto one another or whatever. So down here are more and more and more of these cherries. Isn't that something? Oh, I hear the geese coming in. I wish they'd show themselves so I could show you. So there's tomatoes back there too. And then here in the front, I have a barrel. You see that barrel there. And last year I had beautiful vine going up, floral going up, and it climbed up this whole thing right here. Well, this year I decided it had asparagus in it, and I just left the asparagus. I don't have room to really do an asparagus bed. Look, I planted in this along with the asparagus. I planted Cherokee purple. Look at what I have here. Aren't those gorgeous specimens? They're just beautiful. What I did is I came through here with all of my tomatoes when they looked like really bad shape. And I knew it was too late for these blossoms to do any good. See how they just keep on? Look at all those gorgeous blossoms. They just keep on going. Well, this thing's way over my head. So what I did is I came through and I really, I fed it really well with fish emulsion. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to do the thing that I see people doing, like cutting the tops off and all that. And what I'd heard is like it's a good thing to just pull off the blossoms. They're not going to make. And look at this little feller here. He's not going to make anything, but I appreciate the effort. Something about a garden. I mean, I just love them. This year, I think that's why I hate to get rid of my garden this year. Look at all these tomatoes. Now, when they're blushing like this, I'll just pick that one and take it in the house, and it'll finish ripening. But these aren't going to be ripened to be eaten sliced. These aren't slicing tomatoes. they're canning tomatoes. So when I get a few, enough from a small stock pot, I'll go ahead and I get those ripened up and on the counter, and I'll go ahead and I will cook them down, and then I just cook them down, put them in bags, put them in the freezer, and then this winter I will pull that out and pull those bags out, and I'll make ketchup probably, because my ketchup's already getting low. What else we have out here? This was a big attractor. This is Italian oregano right here. This right here. And their blossoms are about gone. And I harvested that early on. This is thyme. Beautiful stuff, isn't it? And then the mint is following its true nature and trying to take over. It's coming all the way from over here. And I have a lot of bees coming around. It's cold this morning. They'll probably not come till it warms up a bit. But I have lots of honeybees, carpenter bees. There, I see a honeybee coming. And that if you saw my short that I did about the honeybees discovered this hummingbird feeder. And the hummers have pretty much left us. Now there's a girl on it right now, working. That's not a friend of mine though. Those yellow jackets, they'll just come after you and sting you. Now there's one of the girls coming in, and let me give her a drink. I come out here a few times a day and I tip this thing to get them a drink. And I have seen them, if they get aggravated with these other creatures, like red wasps and things that'll really just come after me, they attack those things. So I don't want to put my hand down too far on this, because I'll tell you, there were honeybees all over this yesterday. This is my celery. Can you all believe that this is a celery bed? I have taken celery off, cut celery off. I've got frozen celery and more. Now, you know, there's a thing about growing your own food, and I'm pulling weeds as we're talking. When you grow your own food, this celery doesn't look like the celery in the grocery store. Let's look at some of this down in here. Because see, this isn't quite as pretty as the celery at the store, right? You don't have the great old big stalks, but you know what? It's just as good. Plus, this, I know exactly what is in it. I know it's had no chemicals on it. I know it's not been modified. Here's a little basil that, and I've already harvested so much basil, and I've got a bed full of basil out there practically. I'll show you that. And then here's my sage. I have not harvested any of this. I have loved this blue, kind of a blue-green color of this stuff this summer. There's another honeybee. That's why I'm not sticking my hands down in it anymore. I don't think it's that smart. There's a look at a destination for me. Well, the birds are coming in. Over here, if you all saw my video of my sweet potatoes, it's about 3.5 weeks old. No, 3 weeks yesterday. I dug 2 5-gallon buckets off of 3 slips out of one of my garden beds. That video is up and still being watched a lot. I appreciate it to everyone who's watched it. But this is that we're looking at right here. These are Beauregards. And I'll show you, give you a sneak peek of what we're going to be seeing. Maybe this coming week, I'm not sure. But there's sweet potatoes even at the top. And I just kind of will push the vines over so that, look at that big one over there. Can you see that? They're big. Some are small, but I don't care. I love Beauregards. I have no more left that I canned last year. And here's a little pretty I put together to just, I was going to put it out on my front porch on a bench I've got out there, and I thought, no, I like it back here. This backyard is my sanctuary. This garden's my sanctuary. So things are looking so tired. This hibiscus is trying. That little pot of flowers right there gave up. So let's go on out here and check out what's going on in this area of the garden. And we'll talk together about things that I think I'm gonna have to pull, okay? Even though I don't want to get my beds amended, I want to put compost on them particularly. To do that, I got to get rid of some stuff. So we'll get out there. So here I am at the cattle panel arch, and I'm not being wasteful with these green beans by letting them hang here. Some I'm going to be seed saving, and you can see these right here. See those? I could take those in. They're dried already. There's a lot of them that have dried. But this has been so prolific. It was last year. I had Trail of Tear beans up here last year. Look at the beans hanging. I'm going to have to pick some of these and cook them. I like the Shelly beans, you know, because on the inside, let's look at like this one right here. On the inside, when you see how that lumps, those lumps, the beans are quite large in there, and I can feel them and they're hard. And those make really what they call Shelly beans. You just, when you start to string them, they just kind of pop open if you're lucky. And inside are just nice beans. Then, you know, whole beans. And then when you cook them with, let's find one that looks like a real tender young one, like something like this. This right here is a prime example. Doesn't have a big bunch of beans growing in it, even though I can feel beans, but that right there is, some of these are going to be nice and tasty green beans. The others get leathery, like this one. I have canned and frozen so many green beans that I've used all the space that I need to use for green beans. So anyway, in my family, when they come visit, they're probably getting tired of having green beans as their vegetable choice. So hopefully not. So here's the other side, and to me this is just a gorgeous picture. Just look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Can you all see why I love coming out here and why I feel like it's my sanctuary? Even when it was 105 degrees heat index or 107, down here is my chicken. My son gave me that. There's a tomato I laid there to take in and didn't take it. There's my shovel ready to go and do some work. But my son built me this bench, and it's like attached to these boxes. He built all these boxes. And I just sit down on the bench, and boy, today would have been a good day to come sit and have hot chocolate, or like, for me it's a cup of coffee, good sized cup of coffee, and just sit out here under this. That might be what I do tomorrow morning. So this nasturtium, look at how I'm going to have to seed save on this. I don't have to, but I'm going to. Look at the seeds. Look at the seeds everywhere. Do you all think that I'm going to have any volunteer nasturtiums come up in these beds? And I'll tell you, it'll be really hard for me. See, there's some lying on the soil already. It'll be hard for me not to just let them go, but I can't. I got to plant food. It amazes me how things want to grow. This is where I dropped, apparently, I dropped a seed when I was planting summer squash, because it was like a second planting. That thing even has a little blossom that has given up. I don't know, there's something that I just feel like I honor that. Like, things want to grow. And I want to encourage people to try to grow food if you can. Even a small amount, that's just some extra vitamins. Look at that little lettuce right there. Now here's the box. Here's where lettuce was growing. There's one there that, you know, I mean, I could eat that, a few pieces of it. It's some nutrition. And then here's another nasturtium. I planted one seed, maybe two, but one came up, and in each of these two large beds, I planted nasturtiums, and they've just been, the pollinators have been all over them. The pollinators have been all over these green beans. There's so many beautiful ones. I'm feeling guilt, so I'm gonna pick them. Over here's where I'm gonna have to start pulling. There's bush beans. I love them because I snap them and I don't have to do all that stringing. Because I end up with strings in my canned beans, and I don't like that. These are a couple of volunteer cherry husky tomatoes, sweet cherry husky, and boy are they delicious. Here's some buncheon onions that I let grow. I let this bed just kind of go. I did come in and plant beets, and I wanted it to be my second succession of beets, and so I came in and planted the beets, some beets in here, just kind of random here and there. And the other things were so tall, they didn't get enough sun. Look, see how I let the morning glory go right on up the poles here. Here's another San Marzano tomato plant. It's hard to tell that it's not just a morning glory plant, right? So there's that. And some of these have been eaten on by roly-polies. See that? Those little roly-polies that I found. Yep, that's what's down in there. See if we can focus that for you. I've not used any insecticides in this garden, which is probably very obvious. This has been a very prolific garden this year. When I say very prolific, yeah, it's really small, but it's been prolific. And I've got tomatoes to pick. Like I said, I just get, I'll get some and then I'll just go ahead and store them away, cook them down, store them, and then I'll just combine them. There's some turnips growing. The bugs have and they were a squash bug like I'd never seen in my life. They were brown with kind of orangish on them, but they were a squash bug. The zinnias have just thrived. Here's what's left of my corn. When people worry about whether or not their runners are going to take root, here's some runners that they took root all right. Oh, and there's some more lettuce. See, I could just come out here and scavenge out of the mulch. So these are very healthy. I'm leaving them alone. The runners are gone. They're no longer runners. These are their own plants getting their own nutrition. What I did in here is I wanted some berries, and I wish I would have thought at the time. I think it's been about 2 weeks I've had these in. This is blueberry, and it's the lemonade. I think it's pink lemonade is the variety. And I did my research, and it said that blueberries do very well with strawberries. And then here is a blackberry. Let's go over here and take a closer look so you can see it. There's a blackberry that I got at the same time. Same thing, it says they do very well with strawberries. So this guy, I don't know, I may have to put him into, like, put a tomato cage around it or something, but we're going to be, before you know it, within a couple of weeks we'll probably have some frost, pretty good frost.
This was Saturday. The next morning today we had frost.
More strawberries growing out of the mulch. Okay, here we're looking at my tomato bed. It's a pitiful sight. Well, at this time of year, of course it is, but when we had our temperatures of 107 degrees, the blossoms just were dying on these things. So what I did is I put a shade cloth, and I clipped the shade cloth like you're supposed to. I clipped it so that it would really give them good coverage. And we had an unpredicted high wind and storm come through, and it's been a really weird weather year. That thing came through, dropped hardly, well, we did get a little rain out of it, but anyway, what it did is that wind was so strong with that it was like a sail, and it just pulled my tomatoes down and over. And that's why we've got all these gnarly, poor, pitiful tomatoes. But I decided go ahead and feed them. Go ahead and take care of them the best you can. Because when I tried to straighten them, show you these zinnias as I'm talking. As I tried to straighten them, all that happened from that was they would just snap off because they had been bent over. So I'll walk around these. Now, here again, volunteer zinnias right there. Isn't that pretty? This water's so pretty today. We had a rain yesterday. My daughter was here and she pulled a big pepper plant for me. And she dumped it out in there because we think that'd be some good habitat maybe. Because there's all kinds of frogs and good things in there. So you see the tomatoes just kind of, it's a good thing that I was getting tomatoes from my daughter's farm as well. But there's still some here that I'm holding out hope for. Sorry about the shadow. Right in there, do you see that big old good one? Let's see here, let me find him. There we go, and there's some there. There's some there, and these ripen, and I think that they'll get enough blush on them that I can ripen them inside. And bless their hearts, they have blooms. So we'll walk around here. When you see the bed from this end, you can kind of make out what's going, how they got knocked over. Look at this big one right here. It just went down. I have a tomato there that bugs were eating on, and I just left it lay. The marigolds have just flourished. So that's the tomatoes, and I did end up with good tomato products. I wish I would have just had those good, beautiful slicers like I had planned on. Yeah, remember, it's in my sweet potato harvest video that, like I said, is just like 3 weeks old. Look at this. This is a sweet potato growing, volunteering from this little teeny tiny thing there. Little teeny tiny thing that took root. And right here's another one. And I was worried about my zinnias. Look at these zinnias. I'm gonna be seed saving because as much as I don't like to, they'll be coming out of there. Besides, we're gonna be having frost, and that'll be the end of them. I have jalapenos that I've got to pick. I've got still some bells that I want to let grow a bit. I think I picked everything off of the Grand Marconi. Those things are so good stuffed. I put them in under the broiler, and I wish I'd made a video of that for you guys because I made up my own recipe. But I put them under the broiler and let them get charred, and then I slipped the skin off of them. I did do that in a video. I slipped the skin off, and I put some aside just in the fridge and didn't freeze them. I froze some, the majority, but with those, I filled them with some cheeses and some cumin and some garlic, and then I had some sour cream and onion on the side. I put those in the broiler, or excuse me, I put those in the oven, and all that cheese melted, and it was a really good lunch. Really good lunch. Would have been great with salsa on it. And my salsa turned out really good this year. So this is the mystery plant that I didn't know I was planting this. All of my peppers were seed started. The Grand Marconi, I did buy that one. But the rest I seed started. I pulled the Cubanelles. I pulled those this week. But this thing is so hot, y'all. I'm thinking that I should save some of it. I'm gonna give some. I have a friend who likes a lot of heat, and I'm gonna give a lot of these to her. But what I'm gonna do, I think, is save some of them because you know, when peppers reach a certain temperature, y'all can look this up. When they reach a certain temperature of heat, certain level of heat on the scale, it actually becomes antibacterial, antimicrobes, and we could benefit from that sometimes, right? If it can kill bad bugs that want to attack our bodies, then I say save them and see if you need them. Hopefully not. Look at how the honeybees are all over this little thing that my daughter's a beekeeper, and she gave me these, and I told her I didn't think they were coming to it, but I lied. So I got to fill it up and clean it because the rain yesterday was so hard that it actually splashed the dirt up on it. So, yay, I'm so glad I can tell her that they are coming to drink this. I just fill that with the sugar water, and it's a 1-to-1 sugar and water, because there's been a dearth here in central Missouri, maybe other places, for the bees. And her being a beekeeper, she's told me how to keep my bees that come to my yard from probably some hollow tree out back here. That's what we figure. But anyway, yay about that. I'm gonna send that to her. So this dill right here, I'm so glad it's there in case I do dilly beans. That's what I could do with some of these nice green beans over here, is make dilly beans. My dill is volunteer, and again, look at this and this walkway. Volunteer dill. Isn't that amazing? Volunteer dill. I just love it. Probably whenever I harvested my large dill when I was making pickles. When I did that, I bet that some of those dry seeds dropped that were on the flowers. So these are the green beans that are about done, but boy, they're so good. I cooked a pot a couple days ago. I put a little bacon grease in it and some onion and garlic, and oh, it's good. Look at these beautiful marigolds. They're saying good morning, sun. And the same thing, this nasturtium, its root, I'm trying not to step on these volunteer things in the walkway, isn't that crazy? So the root is about down in there. That's where the root for this whole nasturtium that's hanging over the other edge over there. It's over here, it's here, it's here, it's here. It's everywhere. It just cascaded. It's made me so happy this summer when I see it. It's like, oh my goodness, I just can't believe it. It's so beautiful. Y'all think I get too excited about gardens? I do. I'm excited to watch things grow. It's just a joy. It inspires me. Makes me feel very close to our Creator. And then we have the basil that's gone to flower. And I felt the bees needed it because I had already pulled or harvested a bunch of basil. I got basil in a container in the house, and I don't cook with basil that much, but basil in itself is really good for us. It's got such an interesting flavor. I just eat out of the garden. I'm one of those people who just stands in the garden and eats. I graze just like a horse or something. So that's the basil stalk. Isn't that pretty? Big and sturdy. But over in here is the source of this nasturtium. There was a gorgeous sunflower here, and it started dying back, and I took it out because it was a volunteer. The blue jays sit on this thing. They sit on this. If you can see that little board right there, they sit there and they'll take, my bird feeder's not too far away, they'll sit on that and they'll peck and break open their seeds. And every year I get volunteer sunflower seeds. Thanks to the blue jays. Lots of beautiful peppers hanging. I'm still going to see if they'll grow because I think next week I saw Missouri's kind of crazy weather. We're going to be like near 80 one day. And then we're going to get the real cool down. And when that happens, then it'll be cool. And then we get a January thaw usually. And then we go back into cold again. Seems like we get more cold weather. I'm just admiring these pretty peppers. They're so gorgeous. And I thought I saw a yellow one from my kitchen window. Let's look for it. Let's see where you are. There it is. I've gotten a couple off. My daughter makes pizza at her house. Probably, oh, there's some pretty ones. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Nice peppers, and I've got so many frozen. If you saw my video, I did do 2 jars
of peppers, fermented peppers, and they did great. And what I did yesterday after this video is I picked them and I did 2 more jars of fermented ones, and they're
trees
fermenting now. They're bubbling.
Here from where
so
I grew up,
I love
the
them.
farm that was my grandparents' homestead and my great-grandparents.
Sorry, you can't see those pine trees. I could see them, and I assumed my camera was on them, but it wasn't.
The Missouri Ozarks, from Pine Holler. And haven't the zinnias, if you've seen them in the height of their glory, quite beautiful, quite beautiful. And I love gomphrena, and it's just seeded all over this mulch. My son, who works so hard with the landscape fabric and doing all that for me, I can just see him. See, you can see by these other houses, this is just a little subdivision in a small town. But it backs up to beautiful farmland and a huge lake. And even though I don't see it until the leaves drop, I get to enjoy it then. Okay, so speaking of stuff coming up, look at that. That's another seed that was dropped. And look at this. It's got a baby. It's got a baby on it. Here's another baby. But there was, it just didn't grow like it should have. But it tried, didn't it? It sure did. So we've just about made it around. I'm looking here, down in this bed, and this bed started out with romaine lettuce in the early spring. My garlic was this whole row right down through here. This is 4 by 8. I did a row and a half of garlic. And if you all saw my garlic video, I got the most gorgeous, huge garlic. They're heavy feeders, so I'm going to be planting garlic within this week or next. This week's about over. So I'm going to be planting my garlic, and I'm going to have to change up where I put it. And then this is going to have to come out. These volunteer cherry huskies.
After this video, I cleared out this bed.
They will drop.
I ended up making room for the beets then to get some sunshine to them. And hopefully they'll have time to grow, even though we had that frost today.
More than just cherry tomatoes in here. So I had romaine lettuce that was wonderful. I started out with that. I started out with these onions. These were planted from seed. These are bunching onions. And you see how, if I pull them right now, they don't have any bulb on them to speak of at all, because that's not their purpose, actually. But I didn't realize they'd get so tall. They stayed so beautiful, I thought I'm just going to leave that. But let's see if I can find a beet plant. I see one. There's one. I don't mind all my weeds, okay? It's not my favorite thing to do, though. It's necessity. And these are golden beets. And there's some here and there and here and there. I bet when I pull these other things, these beets will come out of this because they'll get some sunshine. I see almost a nice little row. So I had beets in the other box, and I canned so many beets, lots of beets. But in here, as I said, I told you I had romaine lettuce, I had the bunching onions, I had carrots, and they did well, and I had garlic. And my garlic, wow, what a great harvest that garlic was. So that's about it. Here's the weeping willow that is new to my little plot this year. And here's what I like to do when I come out here to my lavender. I like to just do this, and then I get all that fragrance. Oh, that's so good. I don't know much about overwintering this lavender, and it's gotten so lush and full. I want to overwinter it. I don't know. I'll have to read about that. But I can't believe the stalk on. Look at the stem on these zinnias. My gosh, it's huge. So anyway, it may look like it's a tiny little thing, but it produced, and it's getting ready to go to sleep for the winter time. I'm gonna. My wish is, I should say, is to get compost on top of everything after all this is pulled out. Get the compost on it. And I didn't see one bug today. I'll turn this around. Didn't see one bug today, not one insect other than those bees. And that makes me think that probably they're done because of this weather. Unfortunately, when they're done, some of them, like those bugs that I call them squash bugs, they go down in the earth and burrow down. So I'll be fighting them next year. My daughter got a huge bag of diatomaceous earth, so we'll be working on them. You all have a wonderful day. I know it's been a long video. Hope you felt like hanging in there with me. And as always, I hope you're blessed today. Bye-bye.